Coco Gauff shares Venus Williams' advice when dealing with critics. Gauff says that Williams was one of the first tennis players she idolized when she was younger. Coco Gauff recalls receiving a helpful piece of advice from seven-time Grand Slam singles winner Venus Williams. During an interview with Saturday Today's Laura Jarrett, Gauff reflected on the encouraging words Williams said to her about dealing with online vitriol. She just said, "Be authentically yourself and keep being you," Gauff recalled. During her interview, Gauff explained she wasn't trying to live up to anyone's legacy, instead choosing to focus on her own. "I always tell people, I'm just me. I'm just Coco. I'm not going to be the next anyone, and no one's going to be the next me," she added. Gauff, who claimed her second Grand Slam title at the French Open, says Williams has always been one of her idols. "The first three tennis players I knew of were Serena, Williams, Venus, and Althea Gibson," she said. "My dad has always looked up to Althea, and it was important for him to educate me as a black woman in the sport, of where I came from," she added. Williams, who also spoke to Jarrett, said that she admires Gibson as well. Gibson, a pioneering athlete known for being the first black woman to win a Grand Slam tennis title, helped to break racial barriers in the sport, paving the way for other black athletes. "I had an opportunity to feel proud of who I was and who I am because of people like Althea," Williams said. "Of course, there's different kinds of ways you're perceived or sometimes treated because of the color of your skin, but it never stopped me." Like Williams, Gauff is hailed as one of the best tennis players around, and she's currently gearing up for her next tournament, the 2025 US Open. According to Forbes, Gauff is one of the highest-paid tennis players in the world. While thinking about the impact she has on the younger generation, Gauff says she's happy that she can be a role model for young kids. "Regardless of if I win or lose, knowing that there's at least one or two girls out there who look up to me, it makes me want to keep waking up and doing this every day and be the best version of myself," she said. Gauff is set to face off against Australia's Alyna Tomljanovic at the 2025 US Open on Sunday, August 24th. The bright lights of Arthur Ashe Stadium can be blinding, but for Coco Gauff, they're not the hardest part of being a professional tennis player. The hardest part, she admits, is learning how to carry the weight of other people's voices. Praise, expectations, and criticism, especially criticism, follow her everywhere. And in a sport where mental strength can matter as much as physical power, finding a way to handle it is essential. Fortunately, Gauff has had a mentor who knows that road better than anyone, Venus Williams. The burden of scrutiny. From the moment Gauff stunned the tennis world by beating Venus at Wimbledon as a 15-year-old, she was anointed as the next great American star. The pressure was both a blessing and a curse. Every tournament became a referendum on whether she was living up to that promise. Every mistake was magnified. "I was a teenager, and suddenly, people had opinions about every forehand I missed, every loss I took, even about how I carried myself off the court," Gauff recalled in a recent interview. "Sometimes it felt like the noise was louder than the tennis." For many young athletes, that noise can be overwhelming. Some shrink under it, others fight it head-on. Gauff chose a different route, one guided by Venus. Venus advice. When asked how she deals with critics, Gauff's response was immediate. "Venus told me, you don't owe anyone your peace of mind." It was a simple phrase, but for Gauff, it became a mantra. Venus explained that when you're in the spotlight, people will always talk, good, bad, everything in between. You can't stop it. But you can decide not to give them control over how you feel. That was huge for me. Venus, of course, had lived this herself. Coming into the sport as a teenager in the 1990s, she and Serena faced not just media pressure but cultural scrutiny, criticism laced with bias and doubt. Venus endured it all with grace and quiet strength. To Gauff, her perspective carried weight. She told me, "If I had listened to critics, I wouldn't have made it past my first year on tour. People don't define you, your work does." That hit me hard. Growing into her own voice. Taking Venus advice didn't mean Gauff became immune to criticism overnight. Social media makes it nearly impossible to escape negativity, and Gauff, like most Gen Z athletes, lives in a world where every match is clipped, analyzed, and judged in real time. "There are days where I'll scroll and see hundreds of comments about my serve, or people saying I'll never be as good as so-and-so," she admitted. "It used to bother me, because I wanted to prove everyone wrong. But Venus reminded me that proving myself has nothing to do with proving critics wrong. It has everything to do with proving myself right." This shift in mindset has been visible. Gauff, once occasionally rattled by frustration on court, now appears steadier, her focus sharper. Even when she falters, she seems less interested in engaging with the noise around her and more invested in her own process. The power of mentorship. Venus' influence on Gauff goes beyond advice. It represents a passing of the torch, a reminder of tennis lineage. "It's crazy to think about," Gauff said, smiling. Venus was someone I watched on TV when I was little, and now she's someone I can text for guidance. That's surreal. The guidance isn't always about tennis, either. Sometimes she'll just check in on how I'm doing, how I'm balancing life. She makes it clear that being a person comes before being a player. And that's something I really needed to hear. It is mentorship of the highest form, wisdom rooted in experience, passed down not to shape Gauff into a copy of Venus, but to help her become the best version of herself. Learning to filter the noise. So, how exactly does Gauff apply Venus advice in practice? First, she limits her consumption of social media during tournaments. I'll post something, but I won't scroll through the comments, she explained. I've learned not every opinion deserves my energy. Second, she leans on her team. If there's feedback I need to hear, like technical stuff, strategy, my coaches will tell me. I don't need to read it from strangers online. And third, she uses criticism as fuel, but only selectively. Venus told me, you can use it, but don't let it use you. I remind myself of that. Sometimes a little doubt makes me work harder. But I won't let it control me. Turning critics into a chorus. Ironically, by learning how to handle critics, Gauff has turned many of them into fans. Her resilience has made her relatable. Her openness about the struggles of being young in the spotlight has resonated beyond tennis. During last year's US Open, she even addressed the subject directly after a tough win. People have been saying I couldn't win on this stage, she told the crowd. Well, I'm still here. The stadium erupted. It wasn't just a declaration of victory, it was a statement of identity.